ups and downs, and I don't know what it is from your side, but it's just somewhere we kind of went wrong. And he looked at me as opportunist. He's not here for the right reasons. He's dating a friend. It was just a lot of things that was said. And for me, I'd rather just speak to you directly one-on-one, just to get an understanding. And if it's just an understanding of, you know what, Todd, I'm probably never going to like you, I can live with that, at least if I know it and I get it from you and I get it from everybody else.
My main concern, Kandi said she don't know at what time that I stopped liking you. I didn't stop liking you. I stopped respecting you.
Todd Tucker says he's finally happy after divorce. Kandi admits his biggest regret. Stop scrolling, because the internet just flipped upside down and nobody saw this coming. In a twist that feels ripped straight out of a late-night shock drop, Todd Tucker has stepped forward with a confession so unexpected it sent shockwaves through every Bravo group chat. He says he's finally happy after the divorce. Not relieved. Not adjusting. Happy. And that single word detonated a frenzy that's still spiraling out of control. Because happiness wasn't supposed to be the headline, heartbreak was. Regret was. Blame was. But happiness? Happiness sounds like survival. It sounds like escape. And it raised a question nobody was ready to answer. Within minutes, clips were ripped, slowed, looped, and stitched across social media. Todd's tone didn't sound triumphant. It sounded steady, grounded, almost reborn. Fans froze. Critics panicked. And then came the second blow that made the story go nuclear. According to viral recaps spreading like wildfire, Kandi Burruss allegedly admitted what insiders are calling her biggest regret. Not about money. Not about fame. Not even about the divorce itself. But about what was lost while the image stayed intact. Twitter erupted into civil war. TikTok analysts went feral. Old footage resurfaced overnight. Fans began asking the forbidden question, if Todd is happier after the marriage, what does that say about what he endured during it? Because this isn't just a breakup update. This feels like a reckoning. And once a narrative cracks like this, everything spills out. The shock didn't come from anger. It came from calm. When Todd Tucker finally said he was happy, the internet recoiled like it had been slapped with truth it wasn't ready to process. Happiness wasn't supposed to enter this storyline. Pain was expected. Pettiness was predicted. Silence was assumed. But happiness? That sounded like a man stepping out of a storm and realizing how loud the thunder had been all along. Within minutes, the clips began to circulate, Todd speaking softly, measured, almost careful, and every word landed like a delayed explosion. Fans didn't argue about what he said. They argued about what it meant. Twitter timelines split into factions overnight. One side screamed that this was a calculated rebrand, a post-divorce glow designed to rewrite history. The other side heard something else entirely, relief so deep it bordered on grief. TikTok stitched his interview with old moments from the Real Housewives of Atlanta, drawing invisible lines between past silences and present peace. The comments flooded in faster than moderators could blink. That's not happiness, one wrote. That's recovery. Then came the alleged insider leaks. The kind that feel too specific to be completely fake, and too vague to ever be proven. Screenshots of messages with names blurred out claimed Todd had been living under constant evaluation, every decision weighed, every disagreement reframed as disrespect. According to one viral thread, the marriage didn't collapse in a dramatic explosion, it eroded through 1,000 quiet compromises. Each post ended the same way, he stayed longer than he should have. The internet took that sentence and ran with it. The narrative sharpened when fans noticed the contrast. Todd looked lighter. Not louder. Not vindictive. Lighter. Paparazzi shots of him smiling casually, coffee in hand, shoulders relaxed, went viral with captions that felt accusatory without naming anyone. "Why does he look free now?" asked one post with 500,000 likes. Another followed with, "If peace comes after leaving, what was happening before?" The questions piled up, and with every unanswered one, the story grew teeth. That's when Kandi Burruss entered the discourse in a way no one expected. Not with a clapback. Not with a denial. But with what fans are calling a quiet admission. According to multiple recaps from people claiming to have heard her speak in a controlled setting, Kandi acknowledged regret. Not explosive regret. Not tearful regret. The kind that sits heavy and lands late. Regret about timing. About emotional distance. About realizing something essential had slipped away while everyone was busy protecting the image. The internet froze, then ignited. Reaction channels went live within minutes. "That changes everything," one host whispered, replaying the clip over and over. Another slammed the desk, shouting that regret doesn't erase damage. Twitter wars erupted instantly. Supporters argued that acknowledging regret showed maturity. Critics argued it confirmed what Todd's happiness implied all along. The word imbalance trended for hours. Not betrayal. Not cheating. Imbalance. And that word hit harder than scandal ever could. Old footage resurfaced with surgical precision. Scenes where Todd deferred. Moments where jokes landed at his expense and were brushed off as humor. Confessionals where Kandi spoke decisively while Todd nodded along. None of it illegal. None of it outrageous. All of it suddenly uncomfortable. Fans slowed clips, zoomed in on micro-expressions, and narrated what they believed was happening beneath the surface. "That's not agreement," one viral comment read. "That's survival." Then came the alleged recordings, not released, only described. Voice notes said to capture Todd asking for presence, not change. For partnership, not permission. The descriptions alone were enough to set the internet ablaze. "He sounds tired, not angry," one summary claimed. Like someone already grieving while still married. Whether real or not, the idea stuck. Because it explained why his happiness now felt so unsettling. You don't sound triumphant when you leave something that drained you. You sound steady. Celebrity reactions added gasoline. A vague caption from a Bravo-adjacent figure about choosing peace over performance was screenshot 1,000 times. A cryptic like from another cast member was treated like sworn testimony. Silence from others was read as strategy. Every move mattered. Every non-move mattered more. The story was no longer about two people divorcing. It was about who gets to define reality when cameras stop rolling. The most damaging rumor didn't involve secrets. It involved time. Insiders claimed Todd's biggest regret wasn't losing the marriage. It was losing himself inside it. Losing years to emotional labor that went unnoticed, because it didn't look dramatic on screen. That idea hit like a wave. Men flooded comment sections admitting they stayed quiet too long. Partners shared stories of shrinking to keep peace. Parents confessed fear of leaving because stability felt safer than honesty. The celebrity story cracked open a collective nerve. Kandi's composure became a Rorschach test. To supporters, it was professionalism under pressure. To skeptics, it felt like distance hardened into habit. Paparazzi clips of her walking briskly, sunglasses on, jaw set, were slowed down and analyzed like courtroom evidence. Two truths can exist, one viral post read. One person can be hurt, and another can be successful. But success doesn't cancel impact. That comment spread everywhere because it felt fair, and fairness is rare in gossip culture. Behind the scenes, gossip blogs whispered about crisis meetings and damage control. Lawyers advising restraint. Producers debating whether to lean in or pull back. Because this wasn't a scandal that could be smothered with a statement. It was a pattern people recognized. And once recognition takes hold, narratives move without permission. Todd's calm became the loudest voice in the room precisely because it didn't ask for sympathy. It simply existed. As night fell, the discourse matured. Less screaming. More reckoning. Think pieces replaced reaction clips. Titles shifted from "Who's right?" to "Why does happiness after divorce sound like recovery?" The mood online shifted from shock to obsession the moment people realized happiness wasn't the end of the story, it was the doorway. When Todd Tucker kept repeating that he felt lighter, calmer, finally at peace, fans started asking the question no one wanted to ask out loud: what kind of weight had he been carrying all that time? And that's when the alleged leaks began to pour in like a busted pipe. Not explosive accusations. Not scandalous proof. Something worse. Patterns. Private DMs, screenshots blurred, names cropped, claimed Todd had spent years negotiating his own presence. One message alleged he'd learned to read rooms before speaking, measuring how much of himself he could safely bring without triggering conflict. Another claimed disagreements didn't explode, they evaporated, leaving him feeling unseen. The internet latched onto a phrase that surfaced repeatedly in these so-called insider notes: managed harmony. According to the leaks, peace wasn't mutual, it was maintained. And maintained by him. Clips from The Real Housewives of Atlanta came roaring back, but this time fans weren't counting insults or fights. They were counting interruptions. How often Todd started a sentence and didn't finish it. How often jokes landed on him, not with him. How often he nodded when decisions were announced instead of discussed. TikTok creators slowed footage frame by frame, overlaying captions like "Watch his shoulders drop" and "This is resignation." The edits went viral, not because they proved anything, but because they felt familiar. As the narrative tightened, attention snapped back to Kandi Burruss. Her alleged acknowledgement of regret, quiet, controlled, and devastating in its restraint, became the axis of debate. Fans dissected every paraphrase, every retelling, every nuance. Some argued regret showed accountability. Others said it confirmed the imbalance Todd's happiness hinted at. Twitter wars ignited, hashtags colliding like weather fronts. Regret doesn't rewrite years, one viral tweet read. Another countered, admitting regret is the first crack in the wall. Then came the recordings, never released, only described, and somehow that made them more powerful. According to summaries racing through gossip circles, Todd's voice sounded measured, almost apologetic, as he asked for presence instead of promises. "I don't need grand gestures," one recap claimed he said. "I need to feel like we're on the same team." Commenters lost their minds. That line spread like wildfire, stitched into montages and reaction videos. Whether real or imagined, it explained why his happiness now felt unsettling. You don't celebrate when you leave something that drained you. You exhale. Celebrity reactions added sparks. A Bravo-adjacent figure posted a single line, "Peace beats performance," and deleted it within minutes. Screenshots lived forever. Another liked a comment about "choosing yourself too late," and fans treated it like a confession. Silence from others was read as strategy, not neutrality. Every move felt loaded. Every absence felt intentional. The story had outgrown the couple and turned into a referendum on power dynamics in public relationships. Behind the scenes, blogs whispered about emergency calls and carefully worded advice. Lawyers urging restraint. Producers weighing whether to lean into the moment or starve it of oxygen. Because this wasn't a scandal that could be denied away. It was a feeling, and feelings don't respond to press releases. Todd's steady demeanor, no rants, no subtweets, no clapbacks, became the loudest sound in the room. Fans wrote, if he were lying, he'd be louder. Others shot back, calm can be calculated. The debate only fueled the fire. As hours passed, a new angle surfaced, timing. Anonymous posts claimed Todd's biggest regret wasn't the divorce. It was how long he stayed while slowly disappearing. That idea detonated comment sections. Men shared stories of staying quiet to keep families intact. Partners confessed shrinking themselves to keep peace. Parents admitted fear of leaving, because stability felt safer than honesty. The celebrity story cracked open a collective nerve, and once that happens, the internet stops asking for proof and starts sharing truth. Paparazzi photos intensified the contrast. Todd, casual, unguarded, shoulders loose. Kandi, composed, professional, moving briskly through crowds. To supporters, her posture screamed resilience. To critics, it read as distance hardened into habit. A viral post nailed the tension. Two people can be strong in different ways, but strength doesn't cancel impact. That sentence spread everywhere, because it refused to villainize while still validating pain. Then the rumor mill took a darker turn, not toward scandal, but toward control. Insiders alleged decisions had often arrived fully formed, framed as necessities rather than negotiations. That success created gravity, pulling everything toward one center. That emotional labor fell unevenly. None of it illegal. None of it sensational. All of it corrosive over time. Fans debated whether power imbalance is abuse or simply mismatch amplified by fame. The lack of a clean label made the story more disturbing. Late-night lives popped up across platforms. Panelists argued until their voices cracked. One host replayed Todd's line about being finally happy and said, "This is what recovery sounds like." Another snapped back, "Or this is what revision sounds like." The chat flew so fast it blurred into static. Viewers weren't choosing sides. They were choosing which interpretation felt true to their own lives. And just as the noise peaked, something strange happened. Todd went quiet again. No new quotes. No clarifications. No escalation. That restraint became its own headline. Fans speculated he'd been advised to stop. Others believed he'd said everything he needed to say. The calm felt deliberate, and deliberate calm terrifies narratives built on chaos. Because when someone refuses to feed the machine starts inventing. By dawn, the discourse had evolved. Less outrage. More unease. Think pieces replaced hot takes. Titles asked why happiness after divorce feels like indictment. Why peace reads as evidence. Why regret, once admitted, changes everything even without details. The story wasn't slowing, it was deepening. And then, just as the internet settled into analysis, a new whisper cut through the calm. An anonymous account claimed there was one more conversation, private, unresolved, and heavy, that hadn't been shared yet. Not a fight. A realization. A moment where regret and relief collided, and both sides saw the cost clearly for the first time. No proof. No context. Just enough to reignite everything. Because if happiness is the surface, and regret is the crack, then whatever that conversation contained is the fault line. And as fans refreshed their feeds, one thought echoed louder than any rumor. If this much has come out without anyone raising their voice, what happens when someone finally does? By the time the third wave hit, the internet wasn't screaming anymore. It was holding its breath. Because what people were reacting to now wasn't shock, scandal, or even speculation. It was the terrifying clarity that comes when a story stops feeling like gossip and starts feeling personal. When Todd Tucker continued to describe his post-divorce life with one word, peace, it landed heavier than any accusation ever could. Peace doesn't sound like victory. It sounds like recovery after damage. And that's when the entire narrative tilted on its axis. Fans began revisiting everything with a different lens. Not searching for betrayal, but for erosion. According to fresh insider whispers spreading through private forums, Todd didn't leave because of one breaking point. He left because he realized staying meant disappearing completely. Sources claimed he reached a moment where he no longer recognized himself, where his reactions were muted, his instincts dulled, his presence negotiated. That realization, in old scenes from The Real Housewives of Atlanta resurfaced one last time, but the edits were different now. No dramatic music. No bold captions. Just quiet moments. Todd sitting back while conversations moved on. Todd smiling through jokes that landed at his expense. Todd agreeing quickly, almost reflexively. Fans wrote things like, "We thought this was support. Now it looks like self-erasure." The comments filled with people saying they felt exposed watching it. Insiders claimed the custody phase changed everything. Not because of conflict, but because of clarity. According to those whispers, Todd stopped negotiating identity and started negotiating time, presence, stability. He allegedly chose predictability over chaos, routines over optics. That shift, fans noticed, aligned perfectly with his calmer demeanor. He didn't sound unbothered. He sounded anchored. And anchoring yourself, after years of drifting, feels like happiness to someone who's been lost. Meanwhile, the silence on the other side stretched longer, and the internet did what it always does with silence, it filled it. Some interpreted it as dignity. Others as strategy. A growing number saw it as confirmation that there was nothing to deny, only nothing to say without opening doors that couldn't be closed. Unverified claims